first, we have Renee Dreyfuss, curator at the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco, to tell us about a very special exhibit. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay, this exhibit is fascinating. So you examine two mummies, right? Tell me about these two mummies.
Well, they couldn't be more different from one another. One of them is a priest, somebody who was embalmed and mummified to perfection. His coffin is absolutely perfect. Every bone in his body is in place. Every tooth is in place. His name is Horu. We know all about him because his coffin tells us who he was, who his parents were, who his grandparents were. We know 9 generations of this man's family.
And he lived when? 2,600 years ago?
Yes, around 500 BC, at about the time when the Persians were in charge of Egypt. The other mummy...
Well, this is what we're looking at right now, yes.
This is, okay, now you're looking at his coffin. It's called an anthropoid coffin because it has his face that you're looking at right now, and the inscription on his coffin tells you, first of all, there's a spell from the Egyptian Book of the Dead on it that says he's going to be given every sweet and delicious thing throughout all of eternity.
Wow.
But then it also has his name and what he did, and he was a priest of the fertility god Min.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that is
big man.
Yeah, Turu, and then the other mummy is a woman.
The other one is a woman. And actually, to go back a step, we brought both of these mummies to Stanford, to their hospital and the radiology laboratory where they were CT scanned. So when we looked first at the mummy of the woman, who's 500 years older even,
wow,
maybe 1100 BC or so, we thought she was in perfect condition because the mummy was just, it looked intact. All of the bandaging looked intact. As we started to look at the CT scan, which started at the head, we could see there was something amiss from the very start. And we looked further and further down, and we saw that her spinal cord had collapsed, her jaw was broken open, pelvis had collapsed, bits and pieces of her bones all over the place, and her teeth all over the place.
So very different from the priest you found. And we actually have video explaining what you found from this woman.
Looking at the outside of the mummy, we knew she was small. We figured it was a she. It's in a female coffin. Everything looked like it was in place. Her head, her arms, her legs. An amazing feat for something that is 3,000 or so years old. She looked as if she was in perfect condition until we did the CT scan. Unlike other mummies, there was a lot of residue, body juices, one might say, at the bottom of her coffin. It was stained, and that was a question that we all wondered about. Why would a mummy that was desiccated have so much fluids that would be left in the bottom of the coffin? So there was a question about all of that.
And do you have the answer to that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it had to do with the way she was mummified. And typically, a body would be covered in a salt called natron for about 40 days, and that absorbs all of the juices. If that doesn't happen, then the juices can flow out into the wrappings and harden. And I think that's what happened to this poor woman.
So whoever was in charge of her, they didn't do a good job.
Well, it's not that it wasn't a good job. She was from another part of Egypt and from a different period, and it could very well be that was the tradition of how it was done there. So unfortunately for us, looking at her now, it's very hard to know more about things that you can learn from mummies, like what did she die of, and
Sure.
you know, what is the condition of her body at the time she died.
Well, this is absolutely fascinating,
Yeah.
but these are 2 mummies out of several mummies in the collection,
Yes,
right?
that's right, and I hope to have more of them done in the future. But this is a really good start to show how much you can learn from mummies, you know, once thought of as only relics of the ancient past, now realizing that there are important things that they left for us to examine and to learn about how people lived, how they died, what they ate,
Sure.
what they did.
Yeah. And what's interesting, too, you also have a mummified crocodile. So, yeah, it sounds like a fascinating exhibit. Thank you for coming on the show
Thank
and
you so
telling us
much.
all about it.
Thank
And for
you.
more information on the exhibit, Mummies and Medicine, log on to famsf.org. Again, that's famsf.org. Up next, Kenny Choi got a chance to speak with 2 stylists who work with many A-list clients, including Warriors great Andre Iguodala. Stay tuned.